Hello, wrestling fans. Botch TV here, your friendly neighborhood wrestling and sports commentator. Today, we'll be doing an updated video on my sliders video that I did all the way back in March. There's been a lot of patches that have gone through, and I want to do another video because there's been a lot of drastic changes, and I want to explain them for you and give you guys the best slider set possible, at least in my humble opinion, for the most TV-like wrestling matches that WWE gives us every week. Couple of disclaimers. One, I play versus the AI, so this is going to be geared towards that. However, you can use these sliders if you do AI versus AI. They've been really, really amazing. I've done a lot of them to test them to make sure that they work in both instances. Another thing you guys may want to be aware of is turning off resiliency payback when you are setting up your matches so that the AI doesn't kick out of finishers consistently. You're going to go to gameplay first and set the gameplay difficulty to legendary, weight detection simulation, stamina mode set to normal, and the rest is pretty much minigame stuff that you can set to your liking. Rope break automatic, you want that set to off. Auto reversal for ground attacks off. This basically forces you to reverse everything that there is. And then you're going to want to scroll down here. You're going to want to turn off allow instant recovery and allow possum attack. These are just two very unrealistic mechanics in the game, and it kind of takes you out of a match, and it makes selling like non-existent, and selling is a big part of professional wrestling, so you want to make sure that that still is something that exists while you're playing your game. Presentation, I just like to turn off a lot of the HUD stuff, such as run-in, breakout HUD, superstar HUD, all of these things that make it seem more like a video game and less like an actual wrestling show. So you might want to turn that off if you're doing like content or if you're recording anything and you want to make it feel like an actual wrestling show. But that's more of the content creation side. If you don't really care for that, then you don't have to do that. Gameplay balancing. So you might notice the drastic change. Everything used to be 65 across the board, but a lot of the changes come from just patches. I've noticed that the AI acts a little bit differently, and so we needed to change a lot of this. This is very realistic. You'll get a lot of back and forth matches this way. You'll get a lot of reversals of strikes and things like that, while still maintaining a reasonable, realistic type of matchup setting. I've noticed from all of these slider settings that matches can end between 1 to 2 signatures or 1 to 2 finishers, which is exactly what you want. You really don't want a kick-out fest and people just hitting the 1, 2, 3 after a simple suplex. So I'm not going to go over all of these, but just for some of these, the referee downtime, I like to have a good referee bump there. It allows heels to do very evil things. Superstar downtime, one of my favorite sliders. It just, again, like I mentioned earlier with selling, it's just a really good way to sell an attack and really show damage in a match and really tell the story that you want to tell, especially if it's like a grueling rivalry and you have two people that really, really hate each other just beating the living shit out of each other. It really does help with that story aspect. The reversal windows, this has to do with how long you have as the player to reverse anything. I have this set to 100 because I want to be able to reverse whenever. I want to have the biggest reversal window possible so that if I want to reverse and tell the story in the way that I want to tell it, I'm able to. The game allows me to because I'm able to do it because I have that length of a reversal window. If you want to make the game a little bit more difficult and challenging, you can actually decrease these numbers significantly and make it so that you actually have to really time your reversals. Rollout frequency and rollout duration. I'm going to go over these because these are something that I get questions a lot about. And basically, a lot of you don't like it when the AI rolls out constantly. I don't like it either because it takes away from a match. It takes away the control of a match. You know what I mean? Like it's like a stupid animation that the AI does that nobody likes, whether it's Madden, whether it's WWE, or something dumb that the AI does that kind of just takes you out of the immersion. And so I like to kind of have some control over that as much as possible. So that's why I have it set the way I have it set. You're only going to really see it in multi-man matches. I've seen it happen a couple of times in a match, not too often, but you know, that's a happy medium there. Feel free to mess around with that setting. Stun gain just has to do with how quickly it takes to fill up that stun meter. I decreased it from 70 to 60 because I want them to get stunned, but I also want the ability of suspenseful reversals. Like, is this person going to reverse this or not? And you know, with them being stunned, if you're stunned, you can't reverse anything. You're not able to reverse anything. So I like that, like, suspense in matches, like that tense feeling of like, oh, are they going to reverse this finisher, or are they going to reverse this big maneuver, or aren't they? You know, it creates this more suspenseful type feeling, which is kind of what you're trying to create here with being able to tell a story. Stun duration, again, with selling, this helps extremely well with that. Vitality regen rate and vitality regen cooldown, this has to do with how much the health will recover. We don't want any of that because we want damage to settle in. Again, storytelling. You're going to hear me say that a lot. This has to do a lot with just telling a story that you want to tell and, you know, really being able to do that and customizing the game to your liking so that you're able to tell the stories that you want to tell in your universe mode or whatever. And so this really helps with that. Kick out damage difficulty player. I have this set to 0 so I can kick out whenever I feel like. Again, storytelling. Damage kick out recovery for AI. I have this set to 65. So this basically means that the AI will most likely kick out every once in a while. I like those 2.9 counts, 2.5 counts. But I don't want the AI kicking out or like 3 or 4 signatures or finishers. I've noticed that matches end after 1 or 2 signatures or maybe 1 or 2 finishers, and that's exactly what you want. You don't want a match lasting for 30 minutes, unless it's like your main event, of course. What I mean is that you don't want, you know, a kick-out fest is what I'm trying to say. Difficulty damage scaling is how much the AI will inflict or receive damage from you. The higher the number, the more damage, the lower the number, the less. And you want a long, grueling match. Most of the time, I guarantee you that some of you do not want a match that lasts 5 minutes or 4 minutes. You want a match that... You want probably a good 10 to 12 minute match. Maybe a 20 to 30 minute match if it's your main event. Anywhere between like 10 to 15 is usually good. Drag escape difficulty and carry escape has to do with the mini games. Okay, so now we're getting into the meat and potatoes here, the really advanced sliders. So these have to do with how hard it is to kick out after 1 finisher, 2 finishers, 3 finishers, 1 signature, 2 signatures, 3 signatures. And you notice that every single slider has player and AI corresponding sliders with it. So go ahead and edit these. This is pretty realistic. For me, anyway. I really don't have a problem with these settings. Time pin minigame. Now, real quick, if you're using the button mashing one, you can go ahead and skip this. Skip over this in the video if you're using the button mashing, because this is not going to matter. The flag speed is how fast the little white line moves in the pin minigame. So the higher the number, the faster it moves. The lower the number, the slower it moves. The kickout zone size is how big the red bar is, which is basically the zone you have to line up with to kick out. The kickout zone speed is whether or not the kickout zone will move. So the red kickout zone, it can move. If you have it set to 0, it'll stay stationary, and that's the way I like it. So That's why I have it set there. Submission minigame, this has to do with how strong your attacker button press strength is. Basically means how fast they're going to tap out or not. And this is base strength. Also, your submission attributes are going to play a role into this, like submission defense, submission power, that kind of stuff. Special guest referee. I want the referee to be punished for unfair actions, so that's why I have the punishments up a little bit on these sliders. The referee replacement is basically in seconds, so in 15 seconds or less, it will replace the referee if the referee is being bad and just not doing their job. After that, you can click save and be done, but real quick, we're just going to go through them again just so that you guys can get them. Feel free to make adjustments as needed. This isn't gonna work for everybody, but I try to give a decent slider set to for anyone to use. So there you go. After that, you click save and everything's done. So let me know how those sliders are working out for you. They've worked out for me pretty damn well since I changed them. Definitely more realistic matches, especially after all these patches that have gone through. Let me know if you guys have any questions, and I'll answer them in the comment section below. And until then, we'll see you in the ring.